Hi guys, and welcome to part 2 of how to sound like a native speaker or how to sound better as an English speaker. Well, like I mentioned in part 1, which is in the link in the description below, in part 1, you can always apply the shadowing method. But to speed the shadowing method process up and to make the most out of the shadowing process and to make it more efficient, you need to actively learn how native speakers speak English instead of just simply passively mimicking their voices. And the same goes with passively listening and watching English shows. Well, if you've noticed, you can see that lots of kids nowadays are applying that method. They passively listen and watch native speakers speak English until they can learn how to speak English like the native speakers. But at the end of the day, after all, they're kids, right? And they often like to watch cartoons instead of real-life conversations. And of course, cartoons. Cartoon characters' voices are often high-pitched. And as a result, the kids' voice are often high-pitched, right? So in order to speak English like a native speaker, you need to actively learn how to speak English, which, in other words, are the techniques that they often apply. And in these two videos, part 1 and this is the part 2, I'm going to share with you the techniques and the ways, the methods that you can speak English and be more natural, just like a native speaker. Now, let's get started and dive right into part 2. Let's jump right in. Tip number 1. So, if you often watch, interviews or just films and stuff, just basically native speakers in their daily conversations, you will see that they often lower their voice a bit compared to Vietnamese speakers. So, by lowering their voice tone will sound more relaxed and slower and more natural. And when they lower their voice tone, they will have better control over their breathing. So tip number 1, if you want to sound more like a native speaker or sound better as an English speaker, is to lower your voice tone. Well, that was just a side tip. It's just a side tip, lower your voice tone. But this is the more important thing. It is to use the right intonation, voice intonation and voice pitch for different sentences and situations. Well, it may sound a bit theoretical and hard to understand, but I'm going to dive deeper in this tip for you to better grasp this tip and use it effectively. There are 3 main types of intonation that is often used in English: rising intonation, falling intonation, and rising falling intonation. Let's dive deeper into each type of intonation. The first one is rising intonation. It is when the pitch of the voice rises towards the end of the sentence. So, is like the voice rises towards the end of the sentence. This type of intonation is often used in questions, especially yes-no questions. Let's take some examples. The examples are: would it be possible to reschedule the meeting right now? You said that you could attend the meeting. Did you go to the market? Things like that. Yeah, your tone of voice just basically goes up. And that is the rising intonation. The second tone of voice is called the falling tone of voice. It's like the total opposite of the rising tone of voice. Well, you can tell from its name, right? Rising and falling. The second one is the falling tone of voice. It is when your pitch of voice decreases towards the end of the sentence. Well, this tone of voice is often used in 2 circumstances. The first one is when you want to make a statement, a positive statement. And the second one is when you want to make commands. Well, I just realized that we use this tone of voice a lot because, we literally make positive statements every day, right? From simple sentences like, I have breakfast every day, or I go to school every day, to more complex sentences like, We should lead a healthy lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle will help you improve your physical and mental health. You see, my tone of voice falls, decreases towards the end of the sentence. The second situation in which you use this tone of voice is when you want to make commands. For example, could you please help me with these bags? Please close the door. See? Please close the door. Could you please? See? It's like my voice tone decreases towards the end of the sentence. And that is the falling intonation. The third tone of voice is called the rising and falling tone of voice. It's like a combination between the rising and the rising and falling tone of voice, and it's often used when you in two circumstances. The first one is when you want to list things out, and the second one is when you want to make compliments or exclamations. So in the first circumstance, when you want to list some things, for every single item on the list, raise your voice, but except for one, the last item. On the last item, decrease your tone of voice. So let's just take an easy example. I love examples actually because they always make things simpler and less theoretical. Thus, I grasp things more easily. So let's take an example. Today, I went to the grocery store and bought lots of fruits, such as oranges, rice, apples, bananas, and grapes. Fall. Today I went to the grocery store and I bought lots of things. Oranges, apples, bananas, and grapes. Rise, and fall on the last item. The second circumstance is when you want to make compliments or exclamations. So for example, you did a great job planning that trip. You did a great job, rise. You did a great job planning that trip. Or just basic compliments that we make every day. You look gorgeous today. You look amazing today. You look beautiful today, right? Rise, and a fall. Rise and fall. That's the third tone of voice. And also the last in the three main intonation. So that signals the end of this video. Yes, that's right. It's the end of this video. So in two parts of this video thing, in two parts, you've learned 3 tips to make you sound more natural and more like a native speaker. The first one is to control your breathing. The second one is to lower your voice tone. And the third one is to use the right intonation for different sentences and situations. So yes, I really hope that you find these 3 tips helpful, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!